The second call came before dawn, while the rain still worried at the windows of the old rail depot and the city beyond it slept under a low ceiling of bruised clouds. Marcus Vale stood alone beneath a broken skylight, phone pressed to his ear, watching water drip through rusted beams and explode in tiny silver crowns against the concrete. He had not slept. None of them had. The tablet in his other hand still showed the last frozen frame of Daniel Cross holding his little sister, Lily, against a dirty wall. Victor Cross's voice came through the phone thin and strained. They crossed the border. Marcus closed his eyes. That changed everything. Confirmed? He asked. As confirmed as anything gets right now, Victor said. The van was spotted outside Nogales. My people lost it after that. Your people? Marcus let the word sit there. Victor understood the accusation. I didn't send corporate security. I sent someone quiet. And they were seen. A long silence followed. Marcus looked across the depot. Nadia Reyes stood by the open hood of one SUV, speaking softly into a burner phone. Owen Briggs checked gear with the ritual patience of a man who knew panic got people killed. Saint sat in the back seat of the second vehicle, pale face washed blue by laptop light. For bodyguards. No badge. No authority. 2 kidnapped children on the wrong side of the border. Victor said, the men who took my children are cartel. Which cartel? I don't know. You always know. This time I don't. The billionaire's voice cracked on the last word, and for the first time in 6 years Marcus heard something human beneath Victor Cross's polished armor. They sent another message. Marcus straightened. Send it. Seconds later, his tablet vibrated. The new video was shorter than the first. Daniel and Lily sat in the back of a moving vehicle, huddled together beneath a tarp. Lily's face was hidden against her brother's shoulder. Daniel looked straight into the camera with red-rimmed eyes and a split lip. A masked man spoke Spanish off-screen. Then English. Your children are no longer in your country, Mr. Cross. You took from powerful men. Now powerful men take from you. 12 hours is now 6. The video cut to black. Marcus lowered the tablet. Behind him, Owen had gone still. Nadia ended her call and came over. What is it? Marcus handed her the tablet. She watched without blinking. When it ended, her jaw tightened. Mexico? Across the border, Marcus said. Saint looked up from the laptop. That's not a rescue anymore. That's an international incident with a body count waiting to happen. Marcus looked at him. Saint sighed. I didn't say I wasn't going. Owen shut the rear door of the SUV. What's Cross hiding? That's the question, Nadia said. Marcus dialed Victor again and put the call on speaker. Tell us what they want. Victor breathed once, twice. There's a ledger. Nadia's expression darkened. Of course there is. It lists shell companies, bribes, shipping routes, officials on payroll. I didn't create it. I acquired it. You stole it, Marcus said. I secured leverage. And now your children are leverage. No one spoke after that. Victor's voice became smaller. Can you get them back? Marcus looked once more at Daniel's frozen face on the tablet. 12 years old. Trying not to be afraid because his sister was watching him. Yes, Marcus said. He did not know if it was true. But he knew the children needed someone to believe it. By sunrise, the team was moving south in 2 unmarked vehicles under a sky the color of wet ash. Marcus drove the lead SUV with Nadia in the passenger seat. Owen followed a quarter-mile behind, with Saint beside him muttering curses at encrypted networks and unreliable satellite maps. The farther they traveled from the city, the quieter everyone became. None of them wore uniforms. None carried anything that would make a border agent raise an eyebrow. To anyone watching, they were four tired professionals heading for a consulting job that did not exist. Nadia studied the road ahead. You know this gets uglier once we cross. It was ugly before. Different kind. She turned toward him. In the States, we can still pretend there are rules. Marcus did not answer. He knew what she meant. The border was not just a line on a map. It was a place where law, money, fear, and desperation tangled together until no one could say where one ended and the next began. On one side, men wore suits and made calls. On the other, men with rifles waited in trucks beneath sun-baked overpasses. But the machine was the same. Only the uniforms changed. Saint's voice crackled over the radio. I pulled a partial plate from traffic footage near Nogales. Van crossed through a commercial lane using cloned paperwork. The route pings south, then disappears near Magdalena. Nadia leaned toward the radio. Disappear how? Cameras go blind. Cell coverage gets lazy. People stop recording what they see. Owen cut in. Convenient. In that region. Saint said. Convenience is usually purchased. Marcus kept his eyes on the highway. What else? I found a name attached to one of the shell companies in Cross's ledger. Mateo Salazar. Nadia stiffened slightly. Marcus noticed. You know him. Everybody who worked border intelligence knows Salazar. He's not the top of any cartel, but he survives by being useful to all of them. Smuggling, enforcement, kidnapping, negotiation. A middleman with teeth. Would he take children? Owen asked. Nadia's face hardened. He would take anything that made someone important bleed. Saint said, there's a ranch outside Magdalena tied to one of his fronts. Old cattle operation. On paper, abandoned. In reality, it has power use, vehicle movement, and a private road that does not show up on some maps. Marcus glanced at Nadia. Coordinates. Sending now, Saint said. The tablet chimed. A point appeared in the desert south of the border. It was not much. A name, a road, a shadow on a satellite image. But rescue work rarely began with certainty. It began with fragments and the willingness to move before the fragments went cold. Nadia looked at Marcus. We need local help. No one connected to Cross. Agreed. You have someone. She looked out the window for a moment, watching the first pale suggestion of sun bleed along the horizon. Maybe. Maybe is better than nothing. No, Nadia said. Sometimes maybe is worse. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number from memory. The call rang long enough that Marcus thought no one would answer. Then a man's voice said in Spanish, "You should not have this number anymore." Nadia replied in the same language. "And you should have changed it." Marcus understood enough Spanish to hear the tension beneath the words. The man said, "What do you need?" 2 children were taken across the line. "We think Salazar has them." The line went silent. Then the man said, "Where are you?" "Northbound to Nogales." "You mean southbound?" "I mean trouble." A tired laugh came through the speaker. "Then come find me before trouble finds you first." The man waiting for them in Nogales, Sonora, had the sad eyes of someone who had watched too many people disappear and the stubborn posture of someone who still refused to look away. His name was Rafael Iborra. Once, he had been a federal investigator. They were simply no longer paid by anyone honest. Nadia embraced him briefly, the kind of embrace that belonged to people who had survived something together and never discussed it afterward. Raphael looked past her at Marcus, Owen, and Saint. "You brought a small army." Marcus said, "Small is the important word." Raphael studied him. "You are the one who guarded Cross." "I am." "Then you guarded a man with dirty hands." "I guarded his children too." That answer softened something in Raphael's face. He led them inside the shop. A radio played softly in the corner. Two mechanics worked outside, pretending not to notice the strangers. On the wall hung a faded photograph of Raphael in a suit, shaking hands with a man who had probably been murdered. Saint opened his laptop on a workbench between oil cans and spark plugs. Raphael watched him. "You trust machines too much." Saint replied without looking up. "I trust machines to betray me consistently. People improvise." Owen almost smiled. Nadia placed the tablet on the bench and showed Raphael the video. He watched once. Then again. His expression did not change until Lily whimpered and Daniel tightened his arms around her. Then Raphael looked away. "Salazar," he said. "You're sure?" Marcus asked. "The voice is disguised, but the message is his style. He likes fear with instructions." We traced a possible ranch. Nadia tapped the map. "Here." Raphael's eyes narrowed. "La Cuchilla." Owen folded his arms. "That means something." "The knife," Raphael said. "Old ranch. Bad ground. No neighbors close enough to hear anything. People go there when they are not meant to come back." Saint said, "Sounds cozy." Raphael ignored him. "If the children are there, they are not alone. Salazar will have guards, spotters, maybe corrupt police watching roads. He will expect Cross to send money or men." "Then we do neither," Marcus said. Raphael looked at him. "You are men. We go in as ghosts. That is a story men tell before they become bodies." Nadia stepped between them. "Raphael." He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "I can get you close. Not to the ranch, but close enough to see it. After that, every step is risk." Marcus nodded. "Good." "No," Raphael said sharply. "Not good. Necessary. There is a difference." For the next hour, they worked over maps and coffee gone bitter from sitting too long. Raphael marked back roads, dry washes, locked gates, blind corners, and places where men with radios sometimes sat in parked pickups. Saint compared those markings to satellite imagery and vehicle tracks. Nadia built a picture from fragments. Owen listened, asking only the questions that mattered. Marcus remained quiet. He was thinking about the children. Not as targets. Not as objectives. As children. Daniel would be watching for patterns because Marcus had taught him to. Lily would be scared of the dark because she had always asked hallway lights to be left on when Marcus walked the estate at night. Their captors would not know those things. Their captors would see hostages, money, leverage. Marcus saw two lives narrowing by the hour. At last, Raphael drew a circle around the ranch. "Here is the truth," he said. "Getting in may be possible. Getting out with two children while Salazar's men hunt you across open desert is something else." Marcus looked at the map. "Then we don't let them know we've taken them until we're gone." Raphael stared at him. Then, slowly, he nodded. "That is almost a plan." Saint raised one finger. "I specialize in almost." They reached the overlook an hour before dusk. Raphael guided them there in an old pickup that smelled of dust, gasoline, and sun-baked vinyl. The road became dirt, then ruts, then a memory of a path twisting through low scrub and rock. The land opened around them in harsh browns and golds, beautiful in the indifferent way of places that did not care whether men lived or died. From the ridge, La Cuchilla looked smaller than Marcus expected. A cluster of buildings sat in a shallow basin: main house, barn, storage shed, water tank, generator shack, and 2 long outbuildings with tin roofs. A corral sagged nearby, empty except for windblown trash. 3 vehicles were visible. A white pickup near the house. A black SUV by the barn. A dusty van backed close to one outbuilding. Saint crouched with binoculars. "That van matches the partial." Owen said, "How many men?" Nadia counted quietly. 2 by the main gate. 1 smoking near the barn. 1 on the roof with binoculars. Another moving between the house and the outbuilding. "That's 5 visible." "Visible," Raphael repeated. Marcus studied the ranch through his own binoculars. The place had the lazy rhythm of men who believed distance protected them. That was useful. Overconfidence created gaps. But children changed the equation. The team could not simply strike hard and fast. Noise could get Daniel and Lily killed. Confusion could do the same. They needed certainty. Saint unpacked a small camera drone, no larger than a folded bird. Raphael frowned. "That thing will be seen." "Not if I keep it high and boring." "Boring?" Owen asked. "People notice fast things. They ignore dots." Saint launched the drone from behind a rock. It rose with a faint electric whine, then drifted toward the basin, swallowed by distance and the lowering light. On Saint's tablet, the ranch appeared from above. Marcus watched the screen. The drone passed over the roofs. Heat signatures glowed in the buildings. 2 in the main house. Several in the barn. 1 in the generator shed. Then the camera drifted over the long outbuilding near the van. 2 small heat signatures sat close together in a back room. Marcus leaned closer. Daniel and Lily. Alive. Nadia exhaled slowly. Owen's hands curled into fists, then relaxed. Saint whispered, "Got you." For a moment, nobody spoke. Hope was dangerous in their line of work. It made people reckless. Marcus allowed himself only enough of it to keep moving. "What's between us and them?" he asked. Saint adjusted the image. Fence line. Dry wash. Service road. Back wall of the outbuilding. There's a small window here, maybe bathroom or storage. Door on the east side. 2 guards pass that side every 8 minutes, give or take. Nadia studied the movement. They're not guarding the kids like they expect a rescue. They expect a payment, Raphael said. Or cross to panic. "He will," Marcus said. Saint looked up. "Maybe we should stop him from making things worse." Marcus called Victor. Cross answered immediately. "Tell me you found them." "We have a location." "Oh, thank God." "Listen carefully. Do not pay. Do not call them. Do not answer unless I tell you. They said they'd hurt them. They want you afraid. Fear makes you predictable. My children are in Mexico with cartel men, Marcus. I am beyond fear." "No," Marcus said. "You're inside it. Stay still." Victor said nothing. Marcus lowered his voice. "We saw them. They're alive." A sound came through the line, half sob, half breath. Bring them home. It pressed against his ribs and made every breath feel too small. But Lily had cried herself empty, and someone had to be the brave one. Their room smelled of mildew, dust, and old rope. A single bulb hung overhead but had not been turned on since morning. Pale light leaked through a dirty window high on the wall. The door was metal. The floor was concrete. There were no chairs, no beds, only a stained blanket and a plastic bottle of water. Lily slept curled against him with her rabbit clutched beneath her chin. Daniel listened. Panic makes noise. Courage listens. He repeated the word silently until they became something solid enough to hold. Outside the room, men spoke in Spanish. Daniel understood only pieces. His father had insisted on tutors, but Daniel had mostly used Spanish lessons to learn how to complain about homework. Now random words floated through the walls like broken glass. Money. Boss. American. Tonight. He did not like tonight. He looked at the window again. Too high to reach. Too small to fit through. Even if he could climb, Lily could not. His lip throbbed where one of the men had hit him for asking where they were taking them. He had not asked again. Lily stirred. Danny? I'm here. Are we going home? Yes. When? Soon. That was the first lie he had ever told because he needed it to be true. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Is Mr. Marcus coming? Daniel swallowed. I think so. You think? He always comes when Dad calls. Lily looked toward the door. What if Dad can't call? Daniel did not answer quickly enough. Her eyes filled with tears again. He turned toward her and lowered his voice to the serious tone Marcus used during drills. Remember the quiet game? Lily nodded. If I say quiet game, you stay small and quiet and do exactly what I say. Okay? Like hide and seek. Like hide and seek where we win by being quiet. She hugged the rabbit harder. I don't like this game. I don't either. Footsteps approached. Daniel put one arm around his sister and shifted his body between her and the door. A lock scraped. The door opened. A man stepped in carrying a paper bag and another water bottle. He wore jeans, boots, and a black shirt. His face was uncovered. Daniel had learned he was called Chavo. He was younger than the others, maybe only a little older than the college students who sometimes worked security at Crosspoint events. Chavo tossed the bag onto the floor. Eat. Daniel did not move. Chavo sighed. It is food. Not poison. Lily shrank closer. Daniel said, when are we going home? Chavo looked at him. For a second, something like pity crossed his face. Then it vanished. When your father remembers what matters. My father has money. Chavo laughed softly. This is not about money, Nino. He turned to leave. Daniel forced himself to speak again. Are you going to kill us? Chavo stopped at the doorway. Lily made a tiny sound. The young man did not turn around. Eat, he said again. Then he left and locked the door. Daniel waited until the footsteps faded. Then he opened the bag. 2 sandwiches. An apple. A packet of crackers. Lily looked at him. Is it poison? Daniel shook his head, though he did not know. He took the first bite anyway. Night settled over La Cuchilla without mercy. The desert lost its colors first, then its edges. The ranch lights came on one by one, porch bulb, barn lamp, window glow, security flood over the gate. Beyond those islands of yellow, the world became black and wide. Marcus waited until the ranch settled into its night rhythm. Men who guarded things at night always made patterns. They smoked in the same place, walked the same loop, checked their phones when boredom became stronger than discipline. Some hummed. Some dragged one foot. Some carried their weapons like tools. Others carried them like costumes. Patterns saved lives. Or ended them. At 10:14, Raphael returned from scouting a lower approach. He crouched beside Marcus behind a line of rocks. "The dry wash will take you within 50 meters of the back fence," Raphael whispered. "After that, open ground." "How open?" Owen asked. "Open enough." Saint looked offended by the landscape. "I prefer doors." Nadia said, "You'll get one." The plan was simple in the way dangerous plans often were. Saint would cut power at the generator long enough to blind cameras and draw attention. Nadia and Owen would create a distraction near the barn, away from the children. Marcus would reach the outbuilding, confirm Daniel and Lily, and extract them through the rear window if possible. Raphael would wait with the vehicles along an irrigation road north of the ranch. No heroics. No firefight. No speeches. In. Out. Gone. That was the plan. Marcus trusted plans only until the first heartbeat after they began. He touched his earpiece. Check. Nadia. Owen. Saint, regretting all life choices. Raphael, in position. Marcus looked at each of them in turn. Children first. Owen nodded. Nadia gave him a steady look. Children first. Saint swallowed. Children first. They moved. The dry wash cut through the land like a scar, its sandy bed hidden beneath thorny brush and stone. Marcus advanced low and quiet, with Nadia 10 yards behind and Owen beyond her. Saint split off toward the generator shed with a small pack on his shoulder and the hunched posture of a man sneaking into a place where he very much did not belong. The ranch sounds grew clearer as they approached, a radio playing somewhere inside the house, the cough of a generator, men laughing near the barn, a dog barking once and then falling silent. Marcus reached the end of the wash and lay still. The back fence was ahead, wire stretched between rusting posts. Beyond it, hard-packed dirt led to the rear of the outbuilding. The small window Saint had spotted sat high in the wall. Too small for Marcus, maybe large enough for Lily, possibly Daniel if he kept calm. A guard passed the corner, rifle slung carelessly, phone glowing in one hand. Marcus counted his steps until he disappeared. 1, 2, 3. At 8 minutes, he would return. Marcus moved. He crossed the open ground in a low sprint, reached the fence, cut only what he needed, and slipped through. Nadia followed, then Owen. They separated in silence. The generator coughed. Once. Twice. Then the ranch went dark. A man shouted. Another voice answered from the barn. Flashlights snapped on, slicing white beams across the yard. Saint's voice whispered in Marcus's ear. You have 90 seconds before they realize this is not bad wiring. Marcus reached the rear wall of the outbuilding. From inside, he heard a child gasp. He tapped twice on the wall. Pause. Then once. It was a signal from an old estate drill, one Marcus never thought would matter. Inside the room, Daniel Cross whispered, Mr. Marcus. Marcus leaned close to the window. Quiet game. Daniel moved before he thought. For hours he had imagined rescue as something loud, doors kicked open, men shouting, his father running in, police lights flashing red and blue. Instead, it came as a whisper through a cracked window. "Quiet game." He shook Lily awake and pressed a finger to his lips. Her eyes went wide. "Mr. Marcus," she breathed. Daniel nodded. Outside, Marcus's voice was barely sound at all. "Daniel, listen. I need you to move the blanket under the window. Stack anything you can. There's nothing." "The food crate." Daniel looked toward the corner. He had not noticed it in the dark, but there was a low plastic crate against the wall, probably left by whoever had brought supplies. He dragged it beneath the window. Outside the room, men shouted in Spanish. The lights had gone out everywhere. Footsteps ran past the door. Lily began to tremble. Daniel crouched in front of her. "Quiet game." She pressed both hands over her mouth. Daniel climbed onto the crate. The window was still high, but he could reach the sill. Fingers appeared from outside, strong and familiar, working at the frame. A soft metallic scrape. The window shifted. Marcus said, "Lily first." Daniel helped his sister onto the crate. She clutched her rabbit in one hand. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know." Daniel tried to sound brave. "But Mr. Marcus is outside." That was enough. Marcus reached through the window. Lily grabbed his wrists, and with Daniel pushing from below, she slid through the narrow opening with a muffled squeak of fear. For one terrible second, she stuck. Then Marcus pulled gently, turning her shoulders, and she vanished into the night. Daniel exhaled. "Your turn," Marcus whispered. A key rattled in the door. Daniel froze. Marcus's voice sharpened. "Now." Daniel jumped, caught the sill, and pulled. He was bigger than Lily. The window scraped his shoulders. Pain flared along his ribs. Hands grabbed him from outside. The door opened. Light from a flashlight flooded the room. Chavo stood there. For a moment, boy and young man stared at each other. Daniel was halfway through the window. Chavo raised his weapon. Then he hesitated. It lasted less than a second, but it was enough. Marcus pulled Daniel through and rolled him hard against the outside wall. A muffled crack sounded inside the room as something struck the window frame where Daniel had been. Lily whimpered. Marcus covered her with one arm. "Stay down." Daniel pressed himself into the dirt, heart hammering so hard he thought the guards would hear it. Nadia's voice came over Marcus's earpiece. "Contact near the barn. They're moving your way." Owen added, "We bought you maybe 2 minutes." Saint said, "Power coming back sooner than planned." Marcus looked at Daniel and Lily. They were alive. Out of the room. They had planned to distract, not engage. Plans, as Marcus liked to say, were polite suggestions made before reality arrived. Reality had arrived angry. Nadia picked up a loose stone and threw it hard toward the far side of the barn. It clattered against metal. Both men stopped. Owen stepped from cover just enough to be seen, then vanished behind the SUV. One guard shouted and ran toward him. The second hesitated, looking back toward the outbuilding. Nadia moved. She came up behind him fast and low. He heard her too late. She struck with precision, not rage, and eased him down before his body could make too much noise. Across the yard, Owen dealt with the other man in a brief, brutal struggle that ended with the guard unconscious beside the SUV's rear tire. Owen touched his earpiece. 2 down. More coming. From the house, doors slammed. The generator coughed back to life. Lights flickered, died, then returned in a harsh yellow surge. Nadia swore under her breath. The yard lit up. At the rear fence, Marcus was exposed with both children. "Go," she whispered, though he could not hear her without the radio. Then Saint shouted over the channel, "Truck leaving the barn." The black SUV roared awake. A man behind the wheel threw it into reverse, tires spitting dirt. Another man leaned from the passenger side with a weapon raised toward the back fence. Owen moved first. He did not fire wildly. He did not try to be a hero from a movie. He did what bodyguards do when the protectee is exposed. He put something between danger and the people who mattered. He drove his shoulder into a stack of metal panels leaning against the barn. They toppled with an enormous crash. The SUV swerved as the driver flinched, clipping the corner of the barn and spinning sideways in the dirt. The passenger lost his aim, cursing. Nadia used the chaos to sprint toward Marcus. She reached the fence just as Daniel stumbled through the cut wire. Lily was in Marcus's arms, face buried against his neck. "Where's Raphael?" Marcus asked. "Northwash," Nadia said. 300 meters. Behind them, men shouted. A beam of light swept across the fence. "There," someone yelled. Marcus pushed Daniel ahead. "Run." Daniel did. For a city boy raised behind gates and glass, fear made him fast. He ran with one hand gripping Nadia's sleeve and the other clutching Lily's torn rabbit, which she had shoved at him when Marcus picked her up. The desert beyond the fence was uneven and cruel. Rocks slid underfoot. Thorn branches grabbed clothing. The dark seemed to move with them. Owen joined them at the wash, breathing hard. "Saint?" Marcus asked. "Behind us," Owen said. Complaining, so alive. Saint's voice snapped in their ears. "I heard that." Headlights burst to life behind them. A pickup tore away from the ranch, bouncing toward the fence line. Raphael's voice came over the radio. "I see them. You have 1 minute." Marcus looked at the children, then at the headlights. 1 minute is generous. They ran through darkness broken by headlights and fear. Daniel's lungs burned. Every breath tasted like dust and metal. Nadia held his wrist now, not dragging him but guiding him, pulling him away from rocks and dips he could not see. Ahead, Marcus carried Lily as if she weighed nothing. Owen stayed behind them, turning every few seconds to check the distance. Somewhere farther back, Saint crashed through brush and cursed softly in 3 languages. The pickup behind them hit the fence near the cut and stopped. Doors opened. Men shouted. Not far. Too close. Daniel stumbled. Nadia caught him before he fell. "Keep moving," she said. "I can't." "Yes, you can." Her voice left no room for argument. So he did. They dropped into the dry wash, where the ground became sand and loose stone. The banks rose around them, hiding the ranch lights for a moment. Daniel wanted to collapse there, to curl around his sister and wait for adults to fix everything. But Marcus kept moving. That meant home was still ahead. Raphael's old pickup appeared at the end of the wash like a miracle with headlights off. He stood beside it, one hand raised. "Hurry!" Marcus reached him first and passed Lily into the back seat. Nadia shoved Daniel in after her. Owen climbed into the rear bed, and Saint arrived seconds later, wheezing, with his laptop bag banging against his hip. "I would like," Saint gasped, "to officially object to running." "Noted," Marcus said, climbing into the passenger seat. Raphael slammed the truck into gear before Marcus had the door shut. They lurched forward without lights. Daniel wrapped his arms around Lily. She shook against him, silent now except for tiny hiccuping breaths. Nadia twisted around from the front bench. "Are you hurt?" Daniel shook his head, then nodded, then shook his head again. "Look at me," she said. "Both of you. Are you bleeding?" "My lip," Daniel said. "Anywhere else?" "No," Lily whispered. "My arm hurts." Nadia reached back and gently touched her wrist, her fingers careful and steady. "We'll check it soon." Behind them, headlights crested the ridge. Raphael saw them in the mirror. "They are coming." Owen banged twice on the roof from the truck bed. Marcus looked at Raphael. "Can this thing move faster?" Raphael gave him a look. "This thing is older than your guilt." "Then ask nicely." The pickup bounced onto a dirt road and accelerated. The engine complained. The suspension screamed. Dust rose behind them in a pale ghost trail beneath the moon. Saint leaned forward from the back. "We need to lose them before the highway." "No," Raphael said. "We need to not go to the highway." Nadia understood first. Smuggler roads. Old ones. Old means watched. Everything is watched, Raphael said. Old means forgotten by arrogant men. A crack split the night. Daniel flinched and covered Lily. Owen shouted from the bed. "They're close enough to get stupid." Marcus looked back through the rear window at the bouncing headlights behind them. The rescue had succeeded. Now they had to survive it. Raphael drove as if the desert had personally insulted him. The old pickup plunged down roads that were barely roads, cut across washes, climbed stony rises, and slid around turns with one tire kissing empty air. Daniel held Lily and tried not to cry out each time the truck bounced hard enough to lift them from the seat. Marcus watched the mirrors. The pursuing pickup stayed with them for 6 minutes. Then 8. Then 10. Too long. Whoever drove it knew the land. Owen crouched low in the truck bed, one hand gripping the roll bar. Nadia kept one arm braced across the back of the bench to shield the children from the worst of the jolts. Saint had his laptop open again, which Marcus found both impressive and absurd. "You're working now?" Marcus asked. "I panic better with a keyboard." "What do you have?" "A problem." "Be specific." "More vehicles leaving the ranch." "At least 2. Maybe 3. They're fanning out toward main roads." Raphael cursed in Spanish. Nadia said, "Salazar will call ahead." "He already has," Raphael replied. "Men like him do not wait to be embarrassed twice." Lily lifted her head from Daniel's shoulder. "Are they going to take us again?" "No," Marcus said. He said it immediately, with such certainty that even Raphael glanced at him. Lily stared at Marcus. In the dim interior, her face looked too small, There's a service tunnel under an old rail spur about 4 miles west. Too narrow for trucks if the map is right. If the map is right. Owen shouted through the rear window. Saint raised his voice. "Maps are just lies with confidence." Raphael nodded grimly. "I know the place." "Can we reach it?" Marcus asked. "If God is distracted." The pursuing headlights grew larger. Raphael killed the truck's lights. Darkness swallowed them. Daniel made a small sound. Nadia said, "Heads down." The truck veered left hard. Branches scraped both sides. The pursuing vehicle overshot the turn behind them, its headlights sweeping past like search beams. For 2 blessed seconds, the chase fell away. Then the other driver corrected. Headlights reappeared. Owen hit the roof. "Still with us?" Raphael drove into a dry creek bed. The truck bucked and fishtailed. Saint's laptop nearly flew from his hands. "Careful!" Saint yelped. "With the children." Raphael snapped. "With all of us, ideally." Ahead, moonlight revealed a dark rectangle cut into a low rise. The rail tunnel. It looked impossibly small. Marcus said, "Raphael." "I see it." "Raphael." I said, "I see it." The pickup behind them roared closer. Raphael aimed for the darkness. Daniel shut his eyes. The truck plunged into the tunnel with inches to spare. Metal screamed along stone. Sparks spat past the windows. The world became thunder, dust, and blackness. Then they burst out the other side into open night. Behind them came a crash. Not an explosion. Not something dramatic enough for a movie. Just the ugly final sound of a larger vehicle trying to fit where it could not. Raphael kept driving. No one cheered. Not yet. They changed vehicles at a safe house outside Santa Ana just after midnight. Safe house was too generous a phrase. It was a cinder-block home behind a shuttered feed store, owned by Raphael's cousin or friend or ghost from a previous life. Marcus did not ask which. The fewer names he knew, the fewer names he could betray by accident. Inside, an old woman with silver hair and fearless eyes gave Lily sweet tea and wrapped Daniel's lip with a cloth-wrapped ice pack. She did not ask why strangers arrived in the night with frightened American children. She only crossed herself once and told them to sit. Lily cried then. Not loudly. Not like before. She simply folded into herself on the kitchen chair and wept with the exhaustion of someone who had been brave longer than any child should be asked to be. Daniel tried to comfort her, but his own face crumpled. Marcus stepped back into the hallway. He had faced rifles, knives, mobs, riots, and men who smiled while ordering murder. But the sound of those children breaking safely in a stranger's kitchen nearly undid him. Nadia came out a minute later and closed the door softly. "They're okay," she said. Marcus nodded. "That wasn't a question." "I know." Owen stood near the front window, watching the street through a gap in the curtain. Saint sat on the floor beside an outlet, charging 3 devices at once. Raphael entered from the back door. "We cannot stay." Marcus looked at him. "How long?" 20 minutes. Maybe less. Nadia frowned. "They tracked us." "Not us." "The story." Men talk. A ranch goes loud, vehicles crash, children vanish. Salazar will spread money like seed. Saint raised a hand. "I have more bad news." Owen said, "You ever bring another kind?" "I tried once." It felt dishonest. Saint turned his laptop toward them. Cross received a message 10 minutes ago. Salazar knows the children were taken from La Cuchilla. He is claiming he still has them. Marcus frowned. "Why?" Nadia understood. To buy time. If Cross believes the kids are still captive, he may still hand over the ledger. And if he learns they're gone? Owen asked. Then Salazar loses leverage and starts hunting revenge instead of payment. Raphael said he may do both. Marcus took out his phone and called Victor. Cross answered with ragged desperation. "Marcus." "We have them." Silence. Then, faintly, Elena Cross crying in the background. Victor whispered, "Alive. Alive. My God. Listen to me. Do not react. Do not call anyone. Do not tell your staff, your board, your police contacts, or whoever else you think you control. They're safe. Not yet. Victor's joy vanished into fear again. Marcus continued, Salazar thinks he can still force the exchange. Let him believe that for now. You want me to lie? I want you to do nothing. It may be the hardest thing you've ever done. Victor breathed shakily. Where are they? Moving. I can send a helicopter. No, or a plane. No, Marcus, every asset you activate is another flare in the dark. Sit still. Victor went quiet. Then Elena's voice came on the line, broken but steady. Tell them we love them. Marcus looked through the kitchen doorway. Daniel sat beside Lily, holding her hand while the old woman checked her bruised wrist. I will. They left the safe house in a delivery van painted with the logo of a bakery that no longer existed. Raphael drove. Owen sat beside him. Marcus, Nadia, Saint, and the children rode in the back among empty bread trays and sacks of flour. The air smelled faintly of yeast and dust. Lily slept with her head in Nadia's lap. Daniel sat awake across from Marcus, wrapped in a blanket too thin for the cold that had settled into him. For a long while, the boy said nothing. Then he asked, Did my dad do something bad? Marcus looked at him. Nadia's hand stilled on Lily's hair. Saint pretended very hard to be interested in his laptop. Your father has powerful enemies, Marcus said. That's not what I asked. No, Marcus thought. It wasn't. Daniel was 12. Old enough to know when adults were building fences out of careful words. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on knees. Your father got involved with dangerous information. People wanted it back. Did he steal it? Marcus paused. Yes. Daniel looked down. Then this was his fault. Nadia said gently, the people who took you are responsible for taking you. But if he didn't steal it, then maybe they would have found another reason, Marcus said. Men like that don't need much. Daniel's eyes flashed. You're just saying that because you work for him. No, Marcus said. I'm saying it because blame is heavy, and you're too young to carry your father's share. The boy looked away, jaw tight. Marcus let silence return. Outside the van, the road hummed beneath the tires. Somewhere ahead waited the border. Between here and there, Salazar's men would be asking questions, buying answers, calling favors. The children were out of the cage, but not out of reach. Saint's laptop chimed softly. He frowned. What? Nadia asked. Checkpoint ahead. Unofficial. Raphael's voice came from the front. How far? Maybe 6 miles. Owen swore. Marcus moved closer. Can we avoid it? Raphael answered before Saint could. Maybe. But roads around it are slower. If they place men there, they placed men elsewhere. Nadia looked at Marcus. We can't risk a stop with the kids visible. They won't be visible, Owen said. Daniel's face tightened. What does that mean? Marcus softened his voice. It means we hide you before anyone looks inside. Lily woke at the word hide. No, she whispered. Nadia brushed hair from her face. Just for a little while. I don't want to hide again. Marcus felt the promise he had made press against him. No one would take her again. Not like before, he said. This time we know where you are. This time we open the door. Saint pulled aside a false panel behind the bread trays, revealing a narrow storage compartment just large enough for 2 children. Daniel stared at it. Lily began shaking her head. Marcus crouched in front of them. I need one more quiet game. Daniel looked at his sister, then at Marcus. How long? Minutes. And if it's not? Marcus held his gaze. Then I come get you. Daniel believed him. That almost made Marcus feel worse. The checkpoint appeared as a scatter of headlights and cigarette embers on a lonely stretch of road. There were no uniforms. No official signs. Just two pickups angled across the asphalt, a string of plastic cones, and men with rifles pretending they were law because no one nearby could prove otherwise. Raphael slowed the bakery van. In the back, Marcus sat beside the false compartment, one hand resting lightly against the panel. Behind it, Daniel and Lily were silent. Nadia sat opposite him, face calm, eyes sharp. Saint had shut his laptop and hidden it beneath a flour sack. For once, he had nothing clever to say. The van stopped. Voices outside. A man laughed. Owen spoke first through the open passenger window, his Spanish rough but passable. Raphael cut him off with a stream of irritated local slang that made him sound less afraid than annoyed. Marcus listened to tone more than words. The men outside wanted to be respected. Raphael gave them impatience instead. Sometimes that worked better. Fear invited pressure. Irritation suggested routine. The rear doors opened. Cool night air rushed in. A flashlight beam swept across flour sacks, bread trays, Nadia's bored expression, Saint's dusty shoes, Marcus's empty hands. The man with the flashlight climbed in. He smelled of sweat and tobacco. He looked at Marcus. American. Marcus shrugged as if Owen's voice rose outside, arguing with another guard. A second flashlight appeared at the rear. Too many eyes. The first man tapped a flour sack with the barrel of his rifle. White dust puffed into the air. What is your route? Raphael answered from outside. The man ignored him. His gaze had shifted to the side panel. Marcus felt the world narrow. The man reached toward it. Then a phone rang. Not Marcus's. Not Nadia's. The guard's. He stopped, annoyed, and answered. Sigh. His face changed. Whatever he heard made the small power of the checkpoint vanish. He climbed out of the van and spoke quickly to the others. Nadia's eyes met Marcus's. Trouble. The rear doors slammed shut. Raphael started the engine. For 1 second, Marcus thought they had been cleared. Then a rifle butt hammered the side of the van. Wait, someone shouted. Raphael did not wait. The van lurched forward. Men yelled. A shot cracked into the night. Another struck the rear door with a sound like a giant fist. Lily screamed behind the panel. Marcus ripped it open. Out! Daniel pushed Lily into his arms as the van swerved hard. Owen shouted from the front, "Hold on!" The bakery van burst through the cones and into the dark road beyond, carrying with it 4 bodyguards, 2 children, and the sudden certainty that Salazar now knew exactly what he had lost. After the checkpoint, there was no more pretending. Raphael drove with headlights off whenever the road allowed it. Saint monitored chatter from intercepted channels and public feeds, trying to separate truth from rumor. Nadia kept the children low between flour sacks while Marcus watched the rear doors, counting the holes punched through the metal. Daniel had gone silent again. Lily clung to Marcus now, too frightened to return to the hidden compartment, too exhausted to stay fully awake. Her small fingers gripped his shirt with desperate strength. Owen glanced back from the front. Everyone whole. Whole enough, Marcus said. Saint lifted one finger. I object to enough. Nadia ignored him. What's our border plan now? Raphael said, not no gales. 2 watched. Then where? There is a crossing used for agricultural traffic farther west. Smaller. Less predictable. I know someone who can get us near it. Marcus did not like the answer. You know a lot of someones. In this country, knowing someone's is how you stay alive. And if you're someone sold out? Raphael looked at him in the mirror. Then we will learn too late. The van rattled through a sleeping town where dogs barked behind walls and a lone street lamp flickered over an empty plaza. Somewhere, music played softly from an open window. Life continued around them with cruel normalcy. Marcus's phone vibrated. Victor. He answered. Not now. I received another video, Victor said. Marcus went cold. What video? They claimed to still have Daniel and Lily. They showed footage from earlier, I think. They're demanding the ledger transfer in 1 hour. Stall. How? Be rich and difficult. Ask for proof. Ask for time. Tell them the transfer is complicated. Victor laughed once, sharp and broken. You want me to negotiate with the men who took my children after you already rescued them? I want Salazar looking at you while we move. Elena's voice came faintly through the phone. Are they scared? Marcus looked at Lily's tangled hair against his chest and Daniel's rigid posture beside Nadia. Yes, he said. But they're strong. Victor said, let me speak to them. No, Marcus. If they hear your voice, they may fall apart. If you hear theirs, you might. Keep the line clean. Silence. Then Victor said, there's something else. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. There always is. The ledger isn't just Salazar. It implicates people on both sides of the border. Police, customs, businessmen. Some names in Washington. Nadia watched Marcus's face change. Victor continued, if those names know my children are free, they may want everyone involved erased. Marcus looked at Raphael, then at Owen, then at the children. Not one enemy. A network. How many people have access to the ledger? Marcus asked. Only me. Keep it that way. What are you going to do? Marcus ended the call. Nadia said, that bad. Worse. Owen looked back. I hate worse. The road ahead split into 3 unmarked directions. Raphael chose the darkest one. They reached the farm road near 3 in the morning. The bakery van died there, coughing twice before rolling to a stop beside a field of low winter crops silvered by moonlight. Raphael patted the steering wheel as if thanking an old horse, then told everyone to get out. A second vehicle waited beneath a line of trees, a green farm truck with mud on the tires and cracked paint on the doors. Beside it stood a heavy-set man in a straw hat, smoking nervously. Raphael spoke to him in quick Spanish. Money changed hands. So did warnings. Nadia helped Lily down from the van. Daniel looked at the field, the dark road, the strange man. Are we almost home? Marcus wanted to say yes. Instead he said, closer. Daniel nodded like he had expected no better. That hurt more. They moved to the farm truck. This one had a covered rear packed with empty produce crates. The children climbed in first, then Nadia and Saint. Marcus stayed outside with Owen and Raphael. The man in the straw hat pointed south, speaking urgently. Raphael listened, then cursed. What? Marcus asked. Roadblocks near the agricultural crossing. Not official. Salazar or someone helping him. Owen looked toward the empty fields. Can we go around? On foot, maybe. There are irrigation paths. Drainage cuts. But with children, Raphael shook his head. Marcus looked at the covered truck bed. Lily was asleep again. Daniel watched him through the gap in the canvas. Nadia climbed back out. Say it. Marcus said nothing. You're thinking we split up, she said. Owen frowned. No, Marcus looked at the map on Raphael's phone. They're looking for a group with 2 children. We send a decoy toward the crossing. The real group moves west through the fields to the drainage canal. Who takes the kids? Nadia asked. I do. You too. Owen pointed at Marcus. Absolutely not. You and Saint make noise. Saint makes noise by existing. I heard that, Saint called from inside the truck. Owen stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're putting the children on foot through unknown terrain with cartel search teams nearby. I'm keeping them away from roads that are already compromised. And if they catch you in the open? Marcus held his gaze. They won't. Owen laughed without humor. That's not a plan. That's arrogance. No, Nadia said. It's math. Owen looked at her. She continued, the road gets boxed. The field gives us uncertainty. Uncertainty is the only advantage we still have. Raphael nodded reluctantly. There is a drainage canal 2 kilometers west. It runs north. Near the border fence, there is an old maintenance culvert. Marcus looked at him. Passable. The air smelled of damp earth and fertilizer. Far to the east, the farm truck rattled away with Owen, Saint, Raphael, and a great deal of empty space where the children were supposed to be. Minutes later, headlights appeared on the road beyond the field. The decoy had worked. For now. Marcus carried Lily for the first half-mile. She woke once, mumbled for her mother, and fell asleep again with her cheek against his shoulder. Daniel walked beside Nadia, stumbling from exhaustion but refusing to be carried. You can rest, Nadia whispered. I'm not little. No one said you were. Marcus glanced back. Being carried isn't weakness. Daniel said, I can walk. So they let him. The ground became softer near the irrigation channel. Twice, they had to crouch as distant vehicles swept searchlights over the fields. Once, voices passed close enough that Marcus could smell cigarette smoke. Nadia pulled Daniel down beside her in the mud and covered his mouth gently with her hand. The voices moved closer. Lily stirred. Marcus held her against him, barely breathing. A flashlight beam skimmed over the crops inches above their heads. Daniel's eyes were wide, fixed on Marcus. Quiet game. The beam moved on. The voices faded. Only then did Nadia remove her hand. Daniel sucked in air silently, shaking. Marcus leaned close. Good work. The boy nodded, but tears slid down his face. They reached the drainage canal 20 minutes later. It was a concrete cut in the earth, dry except for a trickle of foul water running along the center. The walls were steep but manageable. Nadia went down first. Marcus passed Lily to her, then helped Daniel climb in. He dropped last. The canal ran north under a sky crowded with stars. Somewhere beyond those stars, in a home full of security gates and silent rooms, Elena Cross was waiting to hold her children again. Marcus moved faster. His earpiece crackled. Owen's voice came through broken and breathless. Decoy burned. We ditched the truck. Saint is offended but mobile. Raphael says you have maybe 15 minutes before they widen the search. Marcus pressed his earpiece. Status. Alive. Loud. Running out of jokes. Saint's voice cut in. Speak for yourself. Nadia smiled despite everything. The canal narrowed ahead. A low concrete tunnel opened beneath a service road. Raphael had called it a maintenance culvert. Marcus called it a last chance. He crouched at the entrance. Dark. Tight. Ugly. Passable. Daniel, he said, you go first with Nadia. Lily between us. Daniel looked into the darkness. I don't want to. I know. What if something's in there? Marcus glanced back at the distant sweep of headlights. Then it should be more afraid of us. For the first time since the rescue began, Daniel almost smiled. Then he crawled into the dark. The culvert was worse than Saint would later describe, which was saying something. It forced them onto hands and knees. Concrete scraped elbows and palms. The air was damp, close, and foul. Lily whimpered once, and Marcus whispered to her until she focused on his voice instead of the darkness. Ahead, Nadia guided Daniel by touch. Left hand forward. Good. Keep breathing. Daniel's voice echoed faintly. I am breathing. Then keep doing it. Behind them, the canal carried sound strangely. Engines. Distant shouts. A dog barking. Men searching the fields. Marcus pushed Lily gently ahead of him. Almost there. Don't say almost if it's not almost, Daniel called back. Despite himself, Marcus smiled. Fair. They crawled on. The culvert angled upward. Fresh air touched Marcus's face. Nadia reached the end first and froze. Marcus heard it too. Voices outside. Not far. 2 men, maybe 3. The exit was watched. Marcus motioned everyone still. Lily pressed both hands over her mouth. Daniel closed his eyes. Nadia turned her head enough for Marcus to see the question in her face. Back? No. Going back meant the canal, the field, the searchlights. Forward meant unknown men beyond the exit. Neither choice was safe. Marcus eased past Lily and Daniel, moving inch by inch until he reached Nadia. Through the culvert opening, he saw boots on gravel. A cigarette ember. The lower half of a man leaning against a post. Beyond him, faint lights marked the border infrastructure. So close. Too close to fail. A soft crackle came through the earpiece. Saint whispered, "Tell me you're through." Marcus barely touched the mics blocked. A pause. Then Saint said, "Give me 30 seconds." For what? Nadia whispered. I don't know yet. That was not comforting. 30 seconds passed. Nothing happened. Then, somewhere east of them, a vehicle alarm began screaming. A second later, another joined it. Then a third. The men outside the culvert reacted immediately. One cursed. Another laughed. Boots shifted away from the opening. The cigarette ember dropped and was crushed underfoot. The men moved toward the noise. Marcus waited 3 heartbeats. Then he slid out of the culvert. Nadia followed, pulling Daniel after her. Marcus reached back and lifted Lily into his arms. They emerged beside a maintenance road lined with scrub. Ahead stood the border barrier, service lights, and beyond them, the United States. Not safety, but closer to it. A figure stepped from behind a utility shed. Marcus raised his hand, ready. Easy, the figure whispered. Raphael. Owen appeared beside him, breathing hard and grinning like a man who had just outrun the devil and stolen his hat. Saint came last, holding a phone. Marcus stared at him. Vehicle alarms. Saint shrugged. Cars are just computers with wheels. Owen looked at the children. They okay? Daniel stood muddy, bruised, exhausted, and upright. Lily lifted her head from Marcus's shoulder. I want my mom. Owen's grin faded. Then let's go get her. Crossing the last stretch was not dramatic. No gunfire chased them. No helicopter descended from the sky. No final villain appeared to make speeches beneath the moon. Instead, there was paperwork avoided, favors called in quietly by people Raphael trusted more than he trusted governments, and a narrow window of movement through a service access point where questions were delayed rather than answered. Marcus disliked every second of it. But sometimes survival looked less like victory and more like silence from the wrong people at the right time. On the American side, 2 black vehicles waited with engines running. Not crosspoint security. Not police. Men and women Marcus had chosen years ago for emergencies that were never supposed to happen. They did not ask questions when Daniel and Lily climbed inside. They simply closed the doors and moved. Only when the vehicles were northbound did Marcus allow Victor to speak to his children. He put the call on speaker. For 1 second, no one said anything. Then Elena Cross's voice broke through. Daniel? Lily? Lily woke fully at the sound. Mommy. Elena sobbed. Daniel turned his face toward the window, trying to hide his own tears. Mom, he said. We're okay. Victor's voice came next, ruined by relief. Danny. Lily. I'm here. I'm here. Lily began crying again, but this time it was different. It was the sound of fear leaving a body too small to hold it anymore. Marcus looked out at the highway lights streaking past. Nadia sat beside the children, one hand on Lily's shoulder. Owen rode in the front passenger seat, head tilted back, eyes closed but not sleeping. Saint was already typing again, because of course he was. Raphael had not crossed with them. He had stayed behind, vanishing into the Mexican night with a warning not to call him unless someone was dead or about to be. Marcus owed him more than money. He owed him names kept secret. They reached the private airfield 2 hours before dawn. Victor and Elena were waiting inside a hangar washed in white light. Elena ran first. The vehicle had barely stopped before the rear door opened and Lily launched herself into her mother's arms. Daniel followed more slowly, trying to be composed until Victor dropped to his knees and pulled him close. Then Daniel broke too. Marcus stood several feet away and watched the family fold around itself. There were no speeches. No thanks large enough. No apology good enough. Just a mother on the concrete floor holding her daughter, a father gripping his son as if the world might try to steal him again, and 4 exhausted bodyguards standing in the hangar shadows. Victor looked up at Marcus. For once, he had no polished words. Thank you, he said. Marcus nodded. Then Daniel pulled away from his father and walked over. He stood in front of Marcus, lips swollen, clothes filthy, eyes older than they had been yesterday. You came, Daniel said. Marcus crouched so they were eye level. You listened? Daniel nodded once. Then he hugged him. Marcus froze for half a breath. Then he hugged the boy back. The official story came together by sunrise. It was neat, false, and expensive. The Cross children had been taken by an organized criminal group and recovered after a coordinated private and law enforcement effort. No ransom had been paid. No international boundaries had been violated by private actors. No one named Mateo Salazar appeared in the statement. No mention was made of a ledger, a ranch called La Cuchilla, a retired Mexican investigator, or a bakery van full of bullet holes. The world accepted the story because the world preferred stories with clean edges. Marcus knew better. So did Nadia, Owen, and Saint. They stayed at the Cross estate through the first day after the rescue. Not because Victor asked them to, though he did. They stayed because fear had a long shadow, and men like Salazar sometimes reached from far away. The estate felt different now. Before, its fences, cameras, gates, and guards had seemed excessive to visitors. Now they seemed like a confession, all that money, all that security, and still the world had found a way in. Lily would not let her rabbit out of sight. Elena had already sewn the torn ear back on with Marcus considered lying. No. But it gets quieter. Daniel looked at him. How? You talk when you need to. You don't pretend it didn't happen. And you remember that being scared afterward doesn't mean you weren't brave during. Daniel absorbed that. My dad says you saved us. Your sister saved you too. Lily? She stayed quiet when it mattered. That's not easy. Daniel almost smiled. And you, Marcus said. You listened. You helped her. You kept thinking. The boy looked down at his hands. Chavo could have shot me. Marcus did not ask who Chavo was. He knew. The young guard at the door. The one who hesitated. Yes. Why didn't he? Maybe he remembered you were a child. Daniel looked toward the window, where the last daylight lay across the lawn. Does that make him good? Marcus thought of all the men he had known who were not entirely monsters and not nearly innocent enough. It makes him someone who had one good second. Daniel nodded slowly. Downstairs, Victor Cross was in his study with Nadia and Saint. Owen stood outside the door, arms folded, making sure the conversation did not become another kind of kidnapping. The ledger had to be handled. Not hidden. Not used for leverage again. Released carefully, with copies placed where powerful men could not bury them all. Victor did not like surrendering control. Marcus no longer cared what Victor liked. You're leaving? Daniel asked. Soon. Will they come back? Marcus held his gaze. Not for you. That was another promise. This time, he intended to make sure the whole world helped him keep it. 2 weeks later, Mateo Salazar vanished. No body surfaced. No confession was made. No rival claimed credit. Men like Salazar sometimes disappeared into the machinery they helped build, swallowed by fear, betrayal, or a superior's disappointment. Marcus did not ask which. The ledger did not vanish. It appeared first in the hands of prosecutors, then journalists, then governments that suddenly found moral courage when public attention made cowardice expensive. Names came out. Companies folded. Officials resigned. Some fled. Some fought. Some smiled on camera and called everything a misunderstanding. Victor Cross survived, though not untouched. For once, money could not purchase the old version of his life back. That was probably good. The children returned to school under new names for a while, then under their own. Lily drew pictures of houses with enormous walls and tiny doors. Daniel started taking Spanish seriously. He also asked Marcus for more security drills, then pretended not to care when Marcus agreed. As for the team, they scattered the way people like them always did after surviving something impossible. Owen took a job guarding a humanitarian convoy and sent Marcus a photo of himself smiling beside a truck stuck in mud. Saint disappeared into whatever digital cave he called home, emerging only to send encrypted messages that began with insults and ended with useful information. Nadia stayed close to the cross case until the ledger could not be buried, then left without saying goodbye because goodbyes made her sentimental and sentiment made her angry. Raphael sent one message from an unknown number. Children home. Debt paid. Lose this number. Marcus deleted it. On a cold evening in early spring, he returned to the Cross estate for what was supposed to be a final security review. The grounds were quieter than before. Some guards were new. Some cameras had been moved. The house itself looked unchanged, but Marcus knew better. Houses remembered fear. So did families. He found Daniel and Lily in the back garden near the fountain. Lily wore a yellow coat and held her repaired rabbit by one ear. Daniel stood beside her, taller somehow, though only weeks had passed. Lily ran to Marcus first. He knelt in time to catch her. "Mom says you're not our bodyguard anymore," she said. Marcus glanced at Daniel, who tried to look uninterested and failed. "That's true. Then what are you?" It was a simple question. Marcus had spent most of his life being what other people paid him to be: shield, shadow, driver, weapon, ghost. The job changed names. The purpose stayed the same. But looking at Lily's earnest face and Daniel's guarded hope, he found the old answers did not fit. "I'm a friend," he said. Lily considered this. "Friends can still visit." "Yes." "And answer calls?" Daniel asked. Marcus looked at him. The boy was trying to make it sound casual, but Marcus heard what lived underneath. The question was not about phones. It was about whether rescue had been a one-time miracle or a promise that the world still contained people who came when called. Marcus stood. "Friends answer calls," he said. Daniel nodded, satisfied but pretending not to be. From the terrace, Elena watched them with one hand pressed lightly against her chest. Victor stood beside her, changed in ways Marcus could not yet measure. The sun dropped behind the trees. The fountain whispered. Somewhere beyond the walls, the world remained dangerous, greedy, and full of men who mistook children for leverage. Marcus knew that would never change completely. But Daniel laughed when Lily tried to make her rabbit salute. Elena smiled through tears. Victor put his arm around his wife and did not look away. For one evening, at least, the children were home. And sometimes, Marcus thought, that was victory enough.